What's up guys, welcome back to the first Fun Sundays video that I've recorded in approximately 3 to 4 weeks. I'm sorry guys, my life has changed a bit since the last time I filmed one of these. The setup has been moved around. I've been engaging in social activities that I haven't engaged in for 8 weeks nearly because we've been in lockdown and lockdown's only just started to release. So yeah, things have just been a bit messy and the plans that I have for these videos never seem to actually go ahead until this week where I've changed everything around to fit this in. So I hope you're happy now, and I'm so sorry these haven't been going out for the last 4 weeks before this. I just couldn't help it really. But today we're going through something that I think is quite exciting, quite entertaining, and so different in terms of YouTube content, it's insane. Now, technically, you could count this as a review video. Technically, just a slight bit maybe. But I'm not calling it a review video. This is Fun Sundays. Roll the intro. So, today we are going to have a look at and view together as a team a channel called I Am in capitals. I'll put a screenshot of the channel on your screens right now so you get an idea of what we're about to look at. But basically the channel is this really cool channel, very unique in some ways, where they make videos like animated content which is massively high quality, pretending that they're in the situation of a guy. So I'm assuming they get stories off of other people and they animate them. But they don't just animate like 2D animation. These are like 3D proper individual animations. Like you physically feel like you're in their shoes. Which I think is really cool. I'm going to link the channel, the top link in the description. Please go and check them out. They are absolutely amazing and they can keep you entertained for hours. They don't have many videos because their content is such high quality to the point it must take them like months to produce some of the stuff they produce. But for the content that is there, it is freaking amazing. So yeah, we're going to jump into this channel, have a quick look at it, review some stuff, and talk about a few things that are involved with these videos. So, if you're looking forward to that, make sure you guys are smashing that like button, making sure you're hitting that subscribe button to come along and join the community for what normally is regular mental health content, which is still happening, don't worry. And yeah, and let's go dive in and see what this channel's all about. So guys, this is the I Am channel, and it's very interesting at best. As you can see, here's some of the videos they do. So they do very story-like videos basically, but they're animated. Again, I think they go ahead and get stories from other people which have been written up, and then they go ahead and animate and commentate over them. So yeah, they've not done a load of videos considering how many subs they've got and views they get. They need to get 100k views on each of their videos, sometimes way over that. So yeah, it's pretty insane. But we're going to start off with the first one, which is I Am a Black Death, the Plague Doctor. And I'm assuming he's going to go through the story of that. Now, I've not actually watched this one. I've kind of watched their latest ones, so I don't want to watch the latest ones because then I'm just giving a false reaction. But this one I haven't watched, so let's have a listen.
Year is 1630. I now live. The year is 1630. I now live in Venice, a once great city-state that for a time was the richest city in Europe, but today is ravaged by a mysterious disease that in just a year claimed the lives of thousands. I cannot let my fear of the epidemic and the horrible fate that awaits the infected overcome me, because I am a plague doctor. I prepare for the day by dressing in a special outfit, tough leather breeches to protect my legs.
It's weird how we're watching this in the middle of a plague,
my entire body,
in the middle of a pandemic.
That all doctors wear, and of course, my mask, the beak filled with herbs and perfumes to ward off the foul-smelling air of disease. I spend my days traveling to
And the
the
Black
homes
Death
of
was
the
much
sick,
worse than this.
checking in on the infected and diagnosing new cases. I employ the most advanced medical knowledge of the day, performing bloodlettings and advising the ill to rub onions on their sores. I use a cane to examine the very sickest
Onions.
of my
Can you imagine if
patients
a doctor
so that I
asked you
don't
to
have
do that?
touch them.
Now, you can see
Will
what I
these
mean by
techniques work?
advanced animations.
Will I be able to cure the sick, or at least offer them some comfort in their final moments? Will I be able to find the source of the disease? And most importantly for me, will my precautions protect me from the same fate? This is far from the first plague. The historians tell us that they've occurred for centuries, yet each seems as if the world is finally coming to its end. From the plague of Justinina that ravaged the eastern Roman capital of Constantinople to the Black Death that left over a third of Europe dead. Now, 300...
So, let's just compare this to that, right? So, today's plague, COVID-19, is like an influenza virus, which basically means it affects your throat and whatever. This was completely different. It was mainly a skin disease, and if it got bad, it had a over 20% death rate. Like most people who got it would die. So compare the current virus with this. Remember that they had a lot worse medical treatment equipment back then. Like, their medical research was pretty dim compared to today. It makes you feel a whole lot better about today's virus. As much as it's really bad, how many people it's already killed, compared to this, it is pretty insignificant. I remember a couple of months ago, everyone was just like, oh, it's a flu, it's fine, nothing will happen. Today, everyone's like, oh my god, it's really not a flu.
Years after the last terrible outbreak on the continent, it has reappeared here in Venice. And this plague has hit our city hard. Once a center of culture and commerce, we are seeing our time as a powerful city-state waning. The streets are empty and the shops are barren, with over a third of the population dead or dying. We tried locking the sick away in pest houses, stripping those who show signs of disease on their clothes and possessions and burning them, and even quarantining them to an island in an attempt to do something, anything to stop the spread, but nothing has seemed to work. The number of infected grows by the day, and the death count rises higher and higher. The plague is a true nightmare for those unlucky enough to become stricken by it. Strange swellings appear on the body, especially under the arms and around the groin, growing to the size of apples, and the weeping blood and pus before erupting into painful sores. The body is then overcome with fever and the chills. The patient can keep no food down and is wasted away by diarrhea and vomiting. It can progress so quickly that there's nothing I can do. Often someone goes to sleep healthy with no symptoms and is dead by morning. They are unsure of where the plague came from or how it spreads. Some think it only comes from the touching of an already infected individual. Others believe that spirits jump from the eyes of the sick into those of the healthy, carrying the death with them. As for myself,
It's crazy how they used to believe that you could just look at someone and they'd catch the disease you had. If scientists suggest that today, no one would believe it.
The foul air, known as miasma, carried this horrible malady. It is also why the most important piece of equipment is also the one that marks me most clearly as a plague doctor: my mask. Each day, I fill the nose with fresh flowers and herbs, using the pleasant smells to ward off the plague. I coat my clothes in a thick layer of sweat, or animal fat, in order to seal in the fabric and prevent any bad airs from penetrating to my skin. I focus on combating the odor that seems to follow the sick and encouraging the healthy to stay well by staying indoors and surrounding themselves with the pleasant aromas. I employ other techniques on those who are not yet at death's door, such as a bloodletting with the leeches or lancing the swollen boils in an attempt to drain the sickness away, though I must take great care to ensure that none of the potentially deadly fluids touch my skin. I am also cautious not to touch the sickest of patients at all. My cane allows me to examine their bodies from a distance, though when they are at that advanced stage, usually all I can do is direct the family to remove the body from the home when the patient eventually succumbs. Their bodies are added onto the carts that patrol the streets daily. Stacked high with corpses, These carts are dragged along by some poor soul who will no doubt be joining his cargo soon. They're taken out of the city and given a Christian burial if they are lucky, and burned in great piles if they are not. Day after day, I see more and more falling victim to this plague. I dream of a day when we can return Venice to its former glory, where hundreds of trade...
You know what's even weirder about this is that Italy were hit equally as hard with this plague. At one point they had the highest death rate and their cities were literally abandoned. So it's crazy how that plague back then was like completely destroyed their city. I mean, obviously the country wasn't the same back then, and we're talking like years and years ago, but it's crazy how that's similar in that way. I mean, this virus doesn't really cause that big of skin condition. Well, actually, there is new symptoms coming out recently, but they're not that big. But yeah, this virus was, well, call it virus, but it was much worse than the current one.
Ships passed through a harbor, and princes summoned the world's most talented artists to create great works to adorn their palaces. I fear those days are dead and gone, and that there is little or anyone but God can do to stop this.
I think we've seen enough of the Black Death. I mean, we're all going for a plague right now. Don't think we need to see more of it. Let's watch something a bit more exciting. Right, so I have a massive interest in North Korea. And something I've always wondered is how defectors actually get out. Because obviously you're not meant to leave the country. So let's have a look.
The sky is beginning to lighten. It has to be near dawn. I jog through the forest. The wind bites through my thin coat. Our uniforms are made to look nice, but are cheaply made and are poor protection against the cold. I wonder if they noticed that I'm gone yet. I've been walking for hours.
Right, so for people who don't know, I just need to stop it there because they didn't actually explain what the heck is happening. North Korea is obviously a country of just pure dictatorship. The leader currently, and the leader has always been, very strict with his people. There's so many restrictions in that country, it's mad for no utter reason. And also, if you're part of that country, you are not allowed to leave. Once you're there, you are there. And the people are pretty much controlled by propaganda posters and very sickening military soldiers who know nothing about the outside world and are just manipulated to serve for their own country. And this is a story of a dude who managed to get into the DMZ zone, so it's the zone between South Korea and North Korea, and he's now trying to run across the border, but obviously it's heavily guarded, and the chances of him being shot are pretty substantial. And if they catch him, he'll be sent to like work camps and abused and tortured. So, yeah.
Snuck out at midnight after most everyone had gone to sleep. With my meager savings, I bribed the guards at the gate, but who knows if they will keep our bargain. Something rustles nearby.
Imagine that, bribing the guards.
Holding my breath. Is it a patrol? Have they found me? I duck behind a tree. Heart pounding, I strain to hear. If they see me, they will shoot me. I have betrayed them, the fatherland, and most of all, our dear leader. I have aligned myself with our capitalist enemies who are allied with hostile, imperialist America. I am a North Korean soldier defecting across the DMZ to South Korea. When we were young, my grandfather used to tell my brother and I stories of his life. How his parents unfairly lost the family farm during the time Imperial Japan.
It crazes me how these countries still exist. Like, nothing rude against, like, I respect, and I think the Chinese, the North Korean, and all these cultures that exist that maybe the Western world doesn't see very much. I respect every single one of them. I think their cultures are amazing, and I'd love to visit a lot of them one day, and I hope I do. Fingers crossed, touch wood. But countries that are, like, literally controlling their people to the degree they do, like, they're not even allowed to wear certain clothes on a daily basis. They don't have access to the internet, and they're literally driven by propaganda. Like, how do these countries even exist still in this century where human rights are more important than ever? It just mads me, and like, I have many opinions on it which I can't express on here because they're very controversial, But it does amaze me that in the 21st century, where we're meant to be more modern than ever, we still have countries where people are manipulated the shit out of to think that the Western world's full of races, full of like racist, absolute capitalists, people who are rude and indiscriminate, and don't believe in freedom. Which is not the case. Trust me, I live in the Western world. We're not that bad, okay? We have our ups and downs, but we're not that bad. At least we're allowed to travel from country to country without being tortured. Anyway, moving on.
Ruled Korea with an iron fist. Grandfather was too young to fight in World War II, but remembered as clear as day when Soviet tanks rolled down the streets of Pyongyang after the war during occupation. As a young man, Grandfather was drafted into military service and proudly fought to unify the two Koreas. He always pointed out to us that the Korean Armistice Agreement was only a ceasefire, not a peace treaty. We did not bow to greedy capitalist South. We are still at war, and we should always be prepared for the Republic of Korea and the United States to attack us. The rustling gets louder. Something large is coming my way.
I'm not being rude, but I'm surprised they haven't attacked you yet. The breaking of human rights and the general limited amount of nutrition your people get would beg to differ why you haven't been invaded yet. And I think there are reasons for it. I think a lot of countries just can't be bothered and don't have the money to do such a thing, and it would cause so many problems, it's insane. But, yeah, I'm not surprised that countries look at you and think, oh, well, that's a bit of an odd one. Especially when your leader ravagely produces nuclear weapons and threatens random countries at random points. You wonder why. I wonder if the North Korean people actually know that their country produces rabid nuclear weapons and goes around threatening everyone. Be interesting to see.
Down behind my tree. If a patrol sees me, they will not hesitate to fire. I'm a traitor. Furthermore, it's their duty and they would be punished if they did not shoot. I don't blame them. If I was in their position, I would shoot deserters too. I take deep breaths, trying to calm my pounding heart. The war. My grandfather spent many long years manning guard posts at the DMZ, the border buffer zone between the two Koreas. Grandfather passed away when my brother was 9 and I was 12. Did he ever get curious looking through his binoculars into South Korea? I wonder what he would think of the choices we have made. For 3 generations, the men in my family have honorably served the fatherland. I entered the military at 17 years old, right after graduating high school.
Alright, can I just say, these people don't get a choice whether to join the military. Like, in our countries, like, we get a choice. Or unless, like, World War III breaks out and the government reintroduced drafting figures. But most of the time, we get choices whether we want to go or not. These people have to serve in the military. It is mandatory. I think boys men have to do, like, 10 years of service. And I think women have to do a similar amount. I think it's a couple of years lower than that, but it's not far off. Which is insane. Like, most people in the UK or American military will not even serve that long. And they chose to go. So can you imagine being forced to serve that long with horrible conditions, being fed horrible food, under-neutralised, and generally just being tortured if you did any minor thing wrong for 10 years, even though you didn't choose to? Like, it's just insane. And we're in the 21st century, let's remember this, right? We're not like ancient Victorians.
I have served for 4 years. If I were to stay, I have another 6 to 8 years of mandatory military service ahead of me, for a total of 10 to 12 years, the longest conscription terms in the world. My knees ache from crouching. The frost on the ground dampens my pants. The rustling grows louder still. That noise can't be soldiers. They'd never be so loud or clumsy. Could it be a bear? Since the war, the borderlands have been restricted to humans. The DMZ has become a haven for wildlife, Even rare species such as black bears are thriving here. Suddenly, a huge musk deer stag crashes out of the brush. I sag in relief and then continue my hike. I was proud to enlist and serve my country, but my brother, since our childhood, he has always been stubborn-minded, reckless. I don't know why. Maybe it was the smuggled American action movies we saw that put these ideas in his head.
That just, like, it gives you an inkling how clueless these people really are. Like, North Korean people generally think that I don't know what they get taught. But they don't see the world the way we do, let's just say that now. It just crazes me, and the fact that, like, if I walked into their country right now, they'd think I'm some vicious wrong'un who, I don't know, goes around killing people. It is just insane. Like, please, come to this country. Free healthcare. The chances of you getting a house are very limited, but, you know, free healthcare.
He always insisted that there was something more out there, that things are not what they seemed, and contrary to what we learned, the Americans were not evil or scary and were not poorer than North Korea. Of
Yeah,
course,
they get
Father
taught that their
scolded
country
and
is the most
punished my
powerful
brother
country on the globe.
whenever he talked that way. The walls have ears, Father would say. For a long time, I ignored what my brother said. But slowly, I began to see the truth of his words myself. In school, we spent a lot of time learning about our dear leaders, Kim Il-sung and his successor, his son, Kim Jong-il. They were depicted as supreme gods who could make everything happen. If it came to
They don't even just get represented as, like, leaders or people who were voted into power. They get told as supreme leaders, people of God. Like,
war, North Korea would win. Our dear leaders would not allow defeat. We have the strongest and the best military.
the funny part
in the
is,
world.
America could probably
And
go
yet,
in there
our
right
troops
now
are
and
hungry.
literally cripple that
Being
country in
stationed near
seconds.
the capital city
I'm not
of
gonna
Pyongyang,
lie.
I eat better than most soldiers, worse than some. Most of my meals consist of potatoes and rice. In rural areas, soldiers go scavenging, stealing from locals to supplement their meager rations. It's dishonorable to steal, but what can you do when you're hungry? Officers turn a blind eye or even encourage soldiers to loot. They justify it saying the troops are there to keep citizens safe and everyone must do their part for North Korea. But it isn't fair. The elite who live in the capital do not suffer like the rural citizens who live in the countryside do. They say we're all comrades and we should work hard, but nepotism determines who lives better in the city or not. On holidays, all the soldiers march. We have big parades where troop after troop marches, showing our might to the world. But are we mighty? How are we to win wars when our troops are faint with hunger? I come across a road in the forest. It's
I
old.
wonder if any one of these members, like, I wonder if any of these North Korean men who fight for their country in an absolute savage mindset that American people are weak, have ever seen an American soldier dressed and fully kitted. Like, the amount of things these men carry and the equipment they use is insane. They have, like, targeted missiles now, like laser technology. Like, these people have literally got no clue what they're even going up against, to be honest. I just feel sorry for them all. Like, they're all such innocent people, and I'm sure they're, like, great deep down, but they're just ravaged by dictatorship and believing that their culture's better than everyone else, and realistically the entire world's messed up as it is. It's
and
just
rotten,
not.
clearly unused, but I feel exposed as I cross it. For the millionth time, I wonder if they're after me. By this time, I've missed roll call. They're probably hunting me down like a dog to make an example of me. A few months ago, our troop conducted a field test with the South Korean army. At the end of the day, the South Korean leader shook hands with our leader and gave the soldiers chocolate snack cakes. He respected us. He didn't ask, but he is not here. I make this journey because my brother cannot. After high school, my brother wanted to attend university. He is very smart and had good grades, but we didn't have the family connection to secure him enrollment. My brother declared that he'd leave the North. He wasn't going to serve in the army. He wanted to study. He wanted to watch whatever movies he liked and read any books he wanted. He wanted to live life as he saw fit. Our father was right. The walls have ears. My brother trusted the wrong person. Just before he was set to leave, they arrested him on suspicion of being a defector and sent him to re-education camp. I do not know what happened after that. They
Yeah,
took my
let's just say
brother
now they're
over
not
a year
re-education
ago.
camps. They are
My
torture
father was
places.
beaten by
They
the authorities,
literally
as was I.
beat the living
They
daylights
like
out
to
of you.
question and then punish whole families for the perceived misdeeds of a single family member. My brother is now missing. The authorities say they released him and he is not at the camp, but he didn't come home. I have not heard from him.
He's
My
dead.
father was poor
Just say
after
that
the
now.
beating. He died a few weeks ago. Some would
Well, I think we get the idea of the rest of this. He gets across the DMZ and defects to North Korea. I'm going to leave the links to all of these videos that I've just watched and the channel itself in the description below for you guys to go and watch. Please go and check them out. They are amazing and will keep you entertained. And they also teach you a little bit about what it's like to live in certain areas of the world and in certain situations. But I thought we'd just have a look at this channel today. A bit of fun, a bit more relaxed, and a bit of kind of insight into what life's like. Apart from that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, smash that like button. Apart from that, I will catch you dudes next time. Bye bye.